everyone, it's Jake of Jake's Metal Chat. Hope you're all well and welcome to episode 53 of my Metal Vault, where I will be exploring and showing you my favourite albums within heavy metal to thrash metal to death metal, black metal, doom metal, sludge metal, folk metal, you name it, all of that excellent stuff. And as well as talking about the albums, I will be talking about the band, so a brief history and any releases leading up to the album that I have picked. Oh, should really take a breath when I do that. But yeah, I got 6 albums written out for, no, well, 7 albums actually. I still got a few more to write out for future episodes, and that's why I was taking a break from making videos, because I want to get more albums written out and obviously do more other videos as well, like more death metal, favorite death metal albums, favorite metal underground releases. And of course, I did the live stream with Ken. So if you haven't watched that yet, I'll put it down in the description below, somewhere front of the back of my head, but will most likely be down there. Or go onto my channel, go to live videos, and it's right there. Of course, it's a long one, so you can come back to it anytime you want. But for those who did tune into that live stream, thank you very much for tuning in and giving Ken the send off that he well and truly deserves. So the band that I got here, and of course we talked about this band in the first chat I did with him back in 2020. And there's a band I've still yet to see live. I had 2 opportunities, and one because it got cancelled, and the other one I just couldn't be bothered to go in the end. And I'm gutted because they were the main band that I wanted to see. These guys are from Stockholm, Sweden, and you know I love my Swedish death metal, or my death metal in general. This is Unleashed, and what a band, what an album this is. I got this, I can't remember what year I got this now, but yeah, it's slipping my mind. But let's get the album up, because for anyone that loves their death metal, is not familiar with this album, then go and listen to it, because it is just an absolute masterpiece. And I've already said the word, but I didn't say the other word before that. But yeah, you know what I say at the end when I do my conclusions. But anyway, let's crack on with it. This is Unleashed and their 1991 debut, Where No Life Dwells. And look at that album. Look at that artwork. And of course, another one of my favorite logos. Also got the guys on the back. So we have Johnny on vocals and bass, Thomas on guitars, Anders on drums, and Frederick on guitars there. So the only 2 original members left in this band, before I crack on talking about the band and the album in general, is Johnny and Anders. Frederick left in 95, and Thomas, I think, left. Let's find him a minute. Or was he still in the band? No, wait. Thomas is still in the band. It's Frederick who left, so obviously he's been in the band since 1990, and obviously Johnny and Anders have been in the band since 1989, since it started. And Frederick Faulkner, I'm gonna hopefully that I pronounced that right. If not, I apologize. Has been in the band since 1995, because Frederick Lindgren, and I'm pretty sure I butchered that as well, so I do apologize again, was the guitarist from 89 to 1995. And of course, Robert, who's in Dismember, was also in the band on guitars and vocals from 89 to 90. So, once going to show the album there, show that, because there's also, I'll show the vinyl as well. I'll do that, got lyrics right there. This dude there, which behind me is the box that it came in, because it also had not just, obviously, of course, it had the vinyl, but not just that, it had a CD of the album as well as a t-shirt, which is in one of my drawers of many t-shirts. And here is the vinyl, so I've got cross right there. And that dude again. So you see him about 3 times on this. So you see him there. Well, actually, technically 4, because you see him on the t-shirt, see him on the back of the vinyl, you see him there, and right there. And this is the big box that came in. And a band picture right there. Got all the guys there, of course. Johnny right there. Got all the other guys there too. Right, so let's get this back in and we can chat about the band themselves before we chat about this album. So again, I mentioned the year that Johnny and Anders have been in the band, so they've been in the band. Obviously, they're the only 2 original members left. So they formed in 1989 after Johnny was kicked out of Nihilist, who split up and reformed as Entomb to pretty much avoid firing him directly. So after that, he formed Unleashed, which are considered one of the first death metal bands to mainly sing about Viking Norse mythology, mainly history and heritage of Vikings, Scandinavian history, and of course, again, to mention Norse mythology. So instead of the typical death and gore lyrics like a lot of death metal bands did back in the day, and some, or if all, are still doing today. But they mainly did those sorts of lyrics because Johnny is pretty much obsessed with anything to do with Vikings and Norse mythology, and of course it shows on this album and also their albums, after this. So let's crack on with this album here. So we have 11 songs in total. Actually, before I get onto the album, because this is what I got to do, I said any releases leading up to it. So they have 3 demos, all released in 1990. I'm not sure when. So actually, here it is. So we have The Utter Dark, which was released in May of 1990. That has 3 songs in total, independent release. And then we have Revenge, that was released in October of 1990, and an independent release of theirs, 3 songs in total. Then we have Century Media promo tape, because they were on Century Media at the time, and that was released in December of 1990. And that has 5 songs overall. And then we get to the split, which is called In the Eyes of Death, which, if it's on YouTube, I'm going to give it a good damn listen to. So not only were these guys on it, but we have Asphyx, Tiamat, Loud Blast, and Grave. All excellent bands. If you've not heard them, I highly recommend that you do. But for you veterans, And then we have the EP from March of 1991, of course, released on Century Media Records. And that has 2 songs overall. And to go back to the split, that was... Nope, just got the EP again. The split was 1991. Not sure what month, though, but in 1991. And then, of course, on the 1st of May, 1991, yes, this album is 33 years old. They released this. And let's talk about it. And once again, let's show the artwork. And of course, I will be talking about the songs in a minute, but the artwork was done by Axel Herman. And he's done artwork for many a band, and one I mentioned when I talked about the split. Asphyx, of course, did the cover arts for The Rack and Last One on Earth, both excellent albums, of course. Also did it for Deathhammer, as well as the other albums on that list. Bloodbath, Breeding Death cover, so really, really cool piece of artwork there. Baphomet, No Answers. course, a different Baphomet, the one from Germany, not the American band. Coffin's new album, which I still haven't heard yet. Devilish and Hammer. Dream Evil. Dr. Death. Ed Guy. Grave, which was that one I mentioned. Iced Earth. In Flames. Moonspell. Morgoth. Old Man's Child. Paganizer. Rune Magic. Samael. Sodom. Soulburn, of course, Unleashed, and Wargasm. And if it's the one that I'm thinking of, yes, it is the one that I'm thinking of because they got the album Why Play Around. So did artwork for very many bands. As for the engineering, I think it's pronounced Siggy Bim, B-E-M-M. I completely butchered that and I do apologize. So he's done guest stuff for various bands. As well as doing this album, he's done it for very many other bands on here, half of which I don't know, except for Creator, Lunacoil, Moonspell again, Morgoth, Rotting Christ, Sentence, Samael, Sodom, The Gathering, Tiamat, Therion. Yeah, just done a lot of other recording engineering for many other bands. We have Jans, who did the photos for them, and that's the only ones he's done them for. Let's double check again. Yep, only ones he's done them for. And for the last one, Wildmer, I'm not going to try and say his name again, but he did, what did he do again? So producer, so he did producer, not just for this album, but for Asphyx, Crush the Cenotaph. We have Exhumer, who quite a few about Lunacoil again, Moonspell again, Morg, which I've not. Okay, there's a German band called Morg. I know one from Sweden and the one from America that Ken knows. Samael, Sentence, Sodom again. The Gathering again. Tank. Tiamat. And yeah, this just goes on from there. And that's who did what on the album. Of course, mentioned Johnny, Anders, Thomas, and Frederick for their respective instruments. So let's crack on with the song. So what do we start off with? We start off with the first track on here, the instrumental, which is the title track of the album, Where No Life Dwells. A nice little acoustic, atmospheric number right there. Just, yeah, pretty much easing you into what's to come. And pretty much every song just is fast, aggressive, and also sometimes slow and like, kind of doomy, but then mid-paced as well. And that goes into the first song that just punches you right in the face, Dead Forever. And aggressive song, excellent guitar work, bass work, drumming. Johnny's vocals are just killer and evil sounding. I know I say evil sounding a lot, but they are. And he's getting his message across with the lyrics that he wrote for the album. Of course, he did getting to him songwriting for tracks 2 to 11, and Frederick, not the guitars they have now. It was also called Frederick. Frederick, what's his last name? Lindgren. I hope I said that right. He wrote the title track. And what an instrumental it is. So well done to you, sir. But well done to Johnny for the rest of the songs written on here. So Dead Forever, just a crushing song. And that gets onto the song that got me into the band and how I found out about this album. Before the Creation of Time. Just kicks right in with a barrage of guitars and bass drumming, and John does that little like death metal growl that you hear. And then stops for a bit and then kicks right back in. Then you get a bit of blast beating with Anders there. Then it slows right down and then it just kicks back in again. Same with For They Shall Be Slain, which, if you look at the lyrics, of course, no, it's not this one. I think it's the one after that. No, it is track 7. So, but anyway, like I said, a lot of the songs are to do with obviously Norse mythology, so, and Scandinavian heritage, Viking heritage. But with this song, For They Shall Be Slain, just still continuing on the brutality there. And then that goes in If They Had Eyes, which I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's to do with, one of those creatures from the sea. So a lot of creatures evolve, pretty much, in and around Norse mythology, Scandinavian, history, heritage, folklore. But with this song, just still continuing on that absolute killer brutality right there. And then that goes into the Dark One, which, my God, evil song. Very much the same with the killer guitar, bass, and drums, and Johnny's vocals. And his vocals throughout this album are just evil sounding, just killer death metal vocals. And this is a, get onto the other songs, a killer record. And having this song here, just amazing. And then that goes into Glory Ride, which obviously is to do with, Vikings going into battle and, dying in battle, going up to Valhalla, and just continuing on that massive barrage of killer guitar, killer bass, killer drums. Johnny's vocals, just, again, absolutely just killer evil sounding right there. And then that goes into track number 8, And the Laughter Has Died. And of course, that was the title of the EP before this album. And my man, again, just continuing on and on and on, just a massive, just, hearing this whole album again just brings back why I loved it so much, because it's just absolutely amazing. And then it gets on to the song Unleashed again with the killer guitar work, Johnny's excellent bass work, and Anders drumming. Because with all of them, they can go from playing like really fast to slow to mid tempo, so somewhere in between fast and slow. And of course, before the creation of the time, it has those bits where it's fast, where and you get those chuggy, like tremolo chugs, and because you get that a lot. You get that a lot with quite a few of these songs here. And then that goes on to getting onto the last 2 tracks. So Violent Ecstasy. Just that. And yeah, it's a violent song because it's just, again, a massive barrage of just killer bass, guitar work, drumming. And of course, throughout some of these songs, or quite a few of them, you get Johnny's screams as well. And he's just got his presence is there, and of course, it's there on the very last track. And just to close it all off, and what a closer it is, Where Life Ends. And man, just how it ends is just how it closes off the entire album is just massively just well done right there. Yeah, drinking. Yeah, much after that. So that's the songs. But if you are not familiar with Unleashed, all you guys out there, then of course, here's an album to start with. You know, because there's a lot of albums like this that have that, you know, because all those that are just from start to finish, you know, fast and aggressive, and a lot of those that are just slow and heavy, but still very much aggressive. This one is aggressive, but also fast, mid-paced, and also slow in parts. So like you get slow parts in Before the Creation of Time, a little bit in Dead Forever, and you know, a lot of those songs, and I think like Into Glory, Ride, you get a lot of you get all three of those mixed in, and they all of them execute that very well on this album. And I mean, just again, look at the artwork. You know, you got the logo, so you go, it's like big logo for Unleashed right there. The very, you know, quite, you know, dark colors of the album. And you got that dude right there just wandering around. Basically the only like living soul there, of course, where no life dwells. And it is just a killer album. And I think this might have been one, because I know there's quite a lot of albums, and I think I've got quite a few on here that would have been overlooked. I'm pretty sure this was overlooked as well, because obviously this was coming out in the year of 1991, which a lot of bands were releasing albums around that time, not just death metal bands, but heavy metal bands, thrash metal bands. So just to name a few, so you got War Master by Boltfer, you got Human by Death, Considered Dead by Gorguts, just to name a few right there. And also Cannibal Corpse released their second album that year, and you know, there's just so many albums, and I'm just, you know, I'm gonna just get metal albums from '91. Yeah, because it's obviously Arise by Sepultura. Obviously, Metallica's Black Album came out that year. Slave to the Grind by Skid Row. No More Tears by Ozzy Osbourne. Blind by Corrosion of Conformity. Of course, Atheist released an album that year, and then Tomb released an album that year. Morbid Angel, Immolation, Sarcophago, Metal Church, Motorhead, Autopsy, because I mentioned Mental Funeral, of course. Grave, Into the Grave, that same year. From Beyond by Massacre. The Wayward Son of Mother Earth by Skyclad came out that year. Testimony of the Ancients by Pestilence. The Melvins did, and Voivod, and Van Halen, Halloween, Alice Cooper, Cancer, The Obsessed, Suffocation as well, and Paradise Lost. And also Carcass with Necroticism. And the name one more, Soundgarden. So quite a few albums. Oh no, two more. So we've got Forest of Requiem by Cathedral, and of course the Ten Commandments by Meverick Creation. And I know I have covered two albums from '91, or actually quite a few from '91 so far, and I'm fairly sure Cathedral was one of many albums from the year this came out. And yes, I was right. It was that one. Oh, and also Sabat released an album that year, of course, as well. I'm just looking at my list because there's quite a few. Obviously, yes, Gothic was obviously another one that I also covered here. So quite a few albums from '91. And I thought, here's another excellent one from that same year. And I urge any young death metal fans out there that have not heard of these guys, then here's the album that you should definitely start with, because obviously that's why after this they got Shadows in the Deep and Across the Open Sea, which I think delves more into the Norse mythology, more the Norse mythology, Viking, Scandinavian history and heritage, more there. Because I think this is more just to do with, well, basically what the title suggests. But either way, you get half of what they're talking about in this album. So there is a bit of that Norse mythology there, but of course, a lot of bands back in the day, and of course they had it because you can see the upside down cross on the logo, anti-religion. Of course, other lyrical themes being death and darkness, and there's definitely, of course, themes of death in here, themes of darkness in here, as well as, again, going back to the Vikings and Norse mythology, folklore, and all that. And combined with death metal, you got one hell of a record right here. And of course, urge a lot of people to check this out, and of course coming to that conclusion, my overall conclusion of it. And it is a lot of the same stuff, I know it is, but you can't deny that it's heavy, it's aggressive, it's dark, it's evil, it's well executed with, with all the guitars, the bass, the drums. Johnny's vocals are just, again, very evil sounding on here. And overall, it's a timeless masterpiece. That all important word, timeless masterpiece. Because it is. And there's a lot of albums that do get my stamp of approval, as you know. And a lot of them I have covered on here so far. And many more to come in the future. And of course, if you did watch my live stream with Ken, of course, we talked about this album on this chat. This does get the Jake's Metal chat stamp of approval. Definitely so. Because it is a very, very much, well, I think to me, and maybe to a few of you out there, a very underrated record. Because obviously it came out around the time where so many other bands were releasing albums at that time, and it would have just been in the mix there. But for all those really into their death metal, would have just scoped this out, and rightfully so, because so much aggression on this album. And this band, the lineup at the time there, done really well. Of course, Frederick's no longer in the band, but these three are still currently in the band today. And I will see these guys live. And if they did just a set where there's nothing but this album, or maybe the first 3 albums, that would be amazing. Because I'll be happy then. Because I'll love to see that. So, to get back to that conclusion, obviously I mentioned that it's heavy and it's dark and it's evil, but that overall timeless masterpiece. Timeless masterpiece right there. And if you haven't heard this in a while, to all you old school hardcore death metal fans, give it another spin, because I gave it another spin and it's still excellent. Still, how I remembered remembering the first time I heard it, it was excellent then, and it's still excellent now. So, again, like I said, it gets my stamp of approval, and I know a lot of you out there, it gets their stamp of approval. I know it gets Ken's stamp of approval out there. So once again, Unleashed, and Where No Life Dwells. To all you new death metal fans out there, pick this up and give it a well and truly good spin. And that is it for another episode of my Metal Vault. I hope you enjoyed this one. I got a lot more to do, more death metal like this, some grindcore, thrash, black metal, obviously, of course, traditional heavy metal. You gotta get some heavy metal in there. Of course, not I won't. Obviously, I'll be covering more albums from the early 2000s. We'll be doing some from the 70s and maybe the late 60s at some point. But obviously, the ones I cover the most on here has been death metal because, as you know, I love my death metal, and those who know me either personally or just on here will be like, there's a man who loves his death metal, and of course, I love my death metal, but also love my folk metal, my black metal, my heavy metal, sludge metal, thrash metal, grindcore. You name it. Anything that's heavy and aggressive, be it fast, slow, or mid-paced, I'm going to be listening to it. And if you're brand new to my channel, this series, welcome. And to everyone who, of course, brand new, or the ones I call veterans, and even veterans who have been into the metal scene for a long time, don't forget to like this video, share it around, and comment down below if you've got anything to say about this album, if you've heard it. Like, where did you first hear it? Was this the first time you heard it, or was it one of the other two that I mentioned? And most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with everything that I got coming up. Obviously, more Metal Vault, favorite death metal albums, favorite metal underground releases, because I'm going to go through that when I got a chance. Because to mention again, I won't be doing as many videos in August because I'm going to be busy, because that's festival season for me. I'm going to be busy in one half of July. So I think when I'm not doing a Metal Vault episode, I'll just go through underground metal releases for future episodes and some more chats, because I messaged one person so far. I'm going to message someone else soon. But anyway, thanks for tuning in to this episode of my Metal Vault. I've been Jake of Jake's Metal Chat. Keep that banner of metal well and truly high. And most importantly here, I will see you again in another episode of my Metal Vault.